All right, I think we're live. I haven't done one of these in just a little while, and I thought I would come in here and do what I've been doing, and have a topic to cover. And then if I run these just a little longer, I'll entertain some questions. But we'll see who runs into this. Still drinking my morning coffee, getting some client work done. So on this topic, because I've said this in comments before. Oh, by the way, if you guys will drop me stars, please, I would appreciate that. I've kind of said in comments still what you're going to store. All right, so hopefully that breaks that down. All right, got 71 viewers in here, a lot of comments. Anybody got any real questions besides how I'm doing? Because I'm just going to do this as a quick one to get back to work. I'm an online strength coach by profession, for those who do not know. So again, I do strength coaching online, and I coach a lot of high level power lifters and strength athletes. I'm almost 100% certain of it. For 5, 8 years, and they're still fat. Thousands of them. Or actually, I'm not going to be mean here, but they're definitely carrying a little bit of belly. Just something to think about. It looks bigger. But because... All right. Anybody else have any questions here before I wind this down, because I got to get back to getting some stuff done. All right. Yeah, I mean, my upper body is decent size. I just benched 315 for 5 pause reps on camera a couple days ago, actually. And again, lean body mass is the number one factor at a max bench. Again, studies have confirmed that. Now, yeah, I am not a fan of meal replacement shakes. Complete con. Eat whole foods. In fact, you'll find it easier to be in a calorie deficit if you're eating whole foods instead of meal replacement shakes. I only do protein shakes personally as just kind of a when I need them, just to hit my numbers, because I don't feel like cooking or something like that. That's it. But you're not going to have the food requirements that I have. I eat 4,000 calories every single day. Like, that's just to maintain my weight at 225. So people not in America, I'm just over 100 kilos. How often do I do these? Not very often. I was doing a couple every week, and then I kind of trimmed them out. So I'm just going to do them sporadically. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and wind this down. So I hope it has been informative, or at least entertaining, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time.